Good morning. I'm so happy to be here. I think even if we start some dialogue here, we're already doing something, because I feel that dialogue perpetuate as we think about it and as we try to do something. And I think it's been a wonderful conference. And I want to thank the people that invited me, and to thank all the members here, because I really learned a lot and it contributes a lot to my thinking. I teach at the university in Israel, and this is part of my well-being to transmit to my students and those around me. My specialty is language, linguistics, and language policy, where I look at different policies and different educational linguistic programs and what happens today, for example, with language of immigrants and language in religion and language in well-being, in communication, in mediation. And what I want to share with you this morning is actually to show you the way languages were brought into religion and how important this was. And then I would like to give a few recommendations on language and language conflict resolution in religion as well. So I'm going to start by presenting about languages in religion as they started, and for you to see the relationship of language and religion and the importance of it as far as people's well-being and development and so forth. I'm sorry that I have to read a little bit. I was short for time. This is a long paper. And I'm going to also be able to answer your questions while after I speak, because I won't have time to sit on the panel. I have to fly off. So I'm sorry about that. So I will begin. Religion has been a powerful and a consistent determinant of language content and language spread. Language content and competition was not led by faiths, but rather the way in which believers chose to interpret their beliefs and missionary zeal that they inspired. The spread of religion and the language with which it was linked was usually spread headed by military action and followed by political and economic domination that accompanied the imposition of cultural and religious customs and expansion of major trade routes. The intimate relationship between Arabic and Islam and a traditional link between Christianity and Latin are examples. Nowadays, the classical varieties of these languages used for religious practice and rituals do not form part of the believer's communicative linguistic repertoire and are therefore not considered constitute of multilingualism. However, in the past, when these religions were being spread across wide parts of the world, they brought in their wake new constellations of multilingualism among people. In some cases, this turned out to be a transitional nature, while in others it was permanent, such as the Spanish colonization of Christianization that led to the dominance of Spanish in Central and South America. Trade brought by people of different religious and linguistic backgrounds made people in contact with one another. Religion and language diffusion, as Ferguson states it, was writing in context of conference on language spread, is still probably the basic text on relationship between religious, linguistic factors, and it provides a model for studying the interaction between people. The writing system, the distribution of major types of writing systems in the world, correlates more closely with the distribution of the world's major religions than with the genetic or typological classification of languages. Whenever Western Christianity spread, it introduced a variety of Latin scripts for writing previously unwritten languages. Similarly, whenever Islam was spread, it introduced the Arabic scripts. Ferguson cites that the maintenance of Hebrew alphabet by Jews to write the many and other tongues they have acquired over the centuries, such as Yiddish, Ladino, varieties of Arabic, and Persian and other languages as evidence of strength of the religiously derived initial teaching of literacy in Hebrew. One central issue in religious uses of languages and language chosen shows us actually the ability of people to choose and relate and build together something that is of necessity to them, as I said before, trade, economic finance, migration. A central issue in the religious uses of language is language that the people choose. A religion often preserves an earlier version of the language from public ceremonies. This is particularly so when sacred texts are maintained in the original, even when they are also available in translation. Religious observances help maintain language after immigration, citing the Germans and the Japanese in Brazil who are shifting, for example, to Portuguese as a mother tongue while keeping the homeland language for their Christian and Buddhist observances and associated school. Attention was also drawn to the intertwining of missionary activities and colonization. For much of the world, the two activities took place together. Different patterns emerged. British-based Protestants, missionaries favored translating the Bible into the vernacular and providing basic literacy in it, while French, the Spanish, the Portuguese-based Roman Catholic missionaries would teach the catechism in the vernacular, but kept the Bible in Latin. All religious belief systems include some beliefs about language, people say. Most respect the founder's language. Some, like Islam and Hinduism, considered the sacred text to be untranslatable. Others, like Judaism, hold the language of the sacred text to be sanctified, but over the time they have come to accept translation to aid understanding. Buddhists, for example, have for the beginning encouraged translation, although branches of both have strong favor of specific translation. Finally, importance of the effect of religious ideology on language spread and the fact that it is a promising but a little investigated topic of research is being researched today, linked to what we're talking about here, to see how today religious language or people or different faiths, beliefs, and all that could also link up to conflict resolution as well. I'm doing a research on it right now, and interesting to see how the languages all stayed and that, but what the different uses of these languages on hopefully better world and better changes as well. So I'm doing a very big research now, and I hope that when I'm done, we'll meet again and see that there's a bit of improvement, and then I could give you some results of that as well. Language in specific religions, I want to go over that quickly. The New Encyclopedia of Language and Religion treats all the many ways in which language and religion interactions can be approached from various directions, each of which provides a convenient point of access to the materials and highlights particularly issues or aspects of the subject. Because writing is a central phenomena, both in the language policy and the religion in the ancient Near East, most of the literary texts were religious in character, and in inevitability, most of the literary languages of ancient Near East were influenced by religious factors as well. The encyclopedia summarizes language practices. For example, Buddhism has been willing to have its sacred text translated into used in other languages. Beginning in India, in the 5th century BCE, early texts were written in Sanskrit, Prakrit, and Middle Iran. The largest available collection is in Pali, perhaps an artificial literary language. According to texts in Pali canon, the Buddha rejected the Hindu idea of preserving the text in Sanskrit. Buddhism was introduced in China in the 1st century CE. Translation of Sanskrit works in Chinese and works into Chinese became a central feature of Chinese Buddhism. Buddhism also entered Japan in the 6th century, written in Chinese and writing systems and Japanese, which Japanese adopted. Am I soon finished? Oh my God, 5 more minutes. Okay, I'll shorten this. I'll go into Christianity. Christianity also, with a noteworthy exception of the Roman Catholic Church, at last until Vatican II, has regularly translated its sacred texts into other languages and often permitted the use of vernacular for religious ceremonies. In Europe, the dominant languages of early Christianity was Greek. Latin, however, became only liturgical language of Western Christianity and until the Reformation, and continued in its role in Roman Catholic Church until the Second Vatican. There's more to it. I will be happy to present my paper to you online. Hinduism is closely associated with Sanskrit. Hindu remained an ethnic term at least until the 19th century. In India, language choice often correlates with religion. There are religious regions where Hindu speaks Marathi, Muslims speak Urdu, and Jainis Kannada. Hindu nationalism supports Hindu for all Indian and Sanskrit as a language of scholarship. Islam is basically and strictly associated with classical Arabic. Arab countries generally include in their constitution a statement that state follows Islam and uses Arabic. While speakers of many languages follow Islam, classical Arabic dominates the religion linguistically. I will go into my recommendations today, and this is something to my research that I am conducting now. And my recommendations, because time is short and I have to also fly, my recommendations as far as language use today, and this is general, I'm sure you would recommend the same, but I'm going to go into the subject deeper. As a result of importance of language and communication in resolving disputes between two parties involved in election, land, religious, and other forms of disputes, I recommend that many communication channels should be open and utilized in settling disputes. Language and communication skills should be effectively used during the process of sharing and exchanging information between individuals, groups, communities, and parties in conflicts or disputes. Also, confidence must be reposed in mediators, volunteers, and the parties in conflicts. Parties in conflicts or disputes should be able to talk freely about their feelings, concern, interests, needs, and fears. And I agree with Amanda that this doesn't happen overnight. The cultural values of parties involved in conflicts must be understood and respected. Judgment must be given by adjudication, arbitration, and mediators in clear terms without elements of ambiguity. And the language must package and communicate justice and peace. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the hosts and all of you, and I wish all of you well.